Hey guys, I'm Kaylee from LA. Please like and subscribe. Ever since I was a little girl, I've always loved to sing. My grandma was a professional singer. She sang around the world with the most prestigious orchestras and operas. I miss her and her voice so much. When I got to 10th grade, I became the singer of the family. I went to the most prestigious performing arts school on the West Coast. My favorite class was music, of course, and my favorite club so far was show choir. We had been the best in the state for 14 years, with the trophies to prove it. My best friend Addison is also in show choir with me. He and I met in kindergarten and have been inseparable ever since. He's the funniest guy I've ever known. He's also gotten pretty cute over the years too. Or at least, that's what all the girls in school think. But I just don't see him that way. Hard to see someone that way when they used to sneak over from next door and put frogs in your bed. Yuck! One day, our show choir teacher, Miss Conrad, had big news for us. We've been asked to compete at this year's National Show Choir Competition. All right! Yeah! But to ensure we get top scores, the soloists will have to be chosen very carefully. Miss Conrad told us that we were going to have to audition for the big solo right in front of each other in 1 week. My nemesis, Heidi, started bragging in front of the whole group. We all know who's going to get it. Me, of course. Everyone knows I have the stage presence of a star.
I don't know. I think Kaylee might give you a run for your money. She's got star power and the voice to match.
The others' eyes widened. Were they about to fight? Just then, the bell rang. As everyone left the class, I swatted Addison on the arm. Don't start fights with Heidi. She's my biggest competition.
That's exactly why you have to stand up for yourself in front of her.
I just don't want anyone to think I think I'm better than her.
Well then, I guess that's why I'm here. To remind them for you.
What would I do without you?
Good thing we'll never have to find out.
I was so nervous, even though I'd sung in front of our choir before, but the pressure was on. The whole week leading up to auditions, I practiced. In the shower, in the car, between classes. I really wanted to beat out Heidi for the big solo at the end of the show. Finally, audition day arrived. I woke up, put on my cutest outfit, curled my hair, and took extra time with my makeup. After all, if I'm gonna be a big star one day, I might as well start dressing like it now. When I stepped out of my house to walk to school with Addison, his cheeks turned super red. What's wrong?
Nothing. You, just look different is all. Your hair is...
Oh no, does it look bad? Maybe I should have worn it up. I'll just go change.
No, leave it. You look good. Great.
When I arrived in class, Heidi was sitting in the front row looking totally perfect. What was I thinking? With her shiny hair, big eyes, and as much as I hated to admit it, her beautiful voice, why would anyone ever look twice at me? But I just tried to remember what my grandma would always say. It's not about who sings the loudest or looks the prettiest. As long as your song comes from your heart, people can't help but listen. So I took a deep breath and sat down next to Heidi, right in the front row. She gave me a once-over and rolled her eyes. Who cared what she thought? I knew I looked great. Miss Conrad sat down at the piano and called Heidi up first. After she finished singing, I applauded politely, along with everyone else. Then, it was my turn. I stood confidently and turned to face everyone. Addison gave me a thumbs up from the back row. Such a good friend. Miss Conrad played the opening notes for my song when suddenly, the door to the classroom burst open behind me. I turned to look, and standing in the doorway was the most handsome boy I'd ever seen. Tall, with long brown hair that fell perfectly into his eyes. He looked just like a fairy tale prince. My jaw dropped. He handed a note to Miss Conrad.
Class, this is our newest addition, Patrick.
He waved to everyone, then put his hand on my shoulder, looked deep into my eyes and said,
I'm so sorry I interrupted your audition. Knock 'em dead.
Then he took my seat right in the front row. I gulped. Oh, now I was nervous again. I shook off my nerves, took a deep breath, and nodded to Miss Conrad. As she played, I could feel the music filling me up, all the way to the top. I opened my mouth to sing and let my song come from my heart. When I finished, the whole class burst into applause. I felt like I was walking on air. Patrick got up to sing something last minute. He was so good. The next day, Miss Conrad put up the list, and I had gotten the solo. And she'd even added a duet in the middle of the show for Patrick to sing with me.
Looks like it's you and me, Kaylee. I'm so honored to be singing with someone as talented as you.
I felt my cheeks turn red, and he grinned.
You're so cute when you blush like that. Be careful, or I might just fall in love.
He walked away with a wink at me. I couldn't believe he'd just said that, and neither could Heidi, who'd been listening around the corner. Don't get too comfy with that solo. Once Miss Conrad figures out that you'll cave at the first sign of pressure, I'll be ready to step in. Eavesdrop much? Jealousy isn't your color, Heidi. The next day, we started rehearsing for nationals. Everyone was working so hard, and Patrick and I sounded great together. But when it came to our dance, it was like I'd suddenly grown a second left foot. No, Kaylee, no. Once more from the top. Miss Conrad, I'm happy to come up front and show Kaylee how it's done.
Not necessary, but thank you, Heidi.
Just here for the team. After I knocked Patrick over by mistake for the third time, Miss Conrad called it a day.
Kaylee, please go home and practice, practice, practice.
Ugh, I could have wiped that smug look off of Heidi's face. Everyone went to start packing up their bags, and I started to head backstage to get my bag when Patrick came up to me.
Hey, gorgeous. Want to stay and practice a little with me? Then it'll be perfect by tomorrow.
Oh, I wouldn't want to impose. Your toes must be all bruised.
That's okay. I really don't mind. And I wouldn't mind spending a little quality time with my co-star.
Well, if you insist. Just then, Addison came up to us.
Hey, Kaylee, ready to go?
That's okay. I should really practice a little longer.
I can practice with you. I could use a few run-throughs myself.
Oh, well, Patrick already offered to stay behind and practice with me here.
He did he? How are you gonna get home? I can drive her. Oh, do you live in our neighborhood? No, but, I mean, if it's not really convenient for you, I'm not spending time with Kaylee because it's convenient. Neither am I. I'm spending time with her because she's cool.
My face turned bright red. Did he really mean that? Addison, I'm gonna stay here too, just for a bit to practice. I'll see you later, okay?
Fine, if you insist. I'll, see you when you get home.
He turned on his heel and walked out. Patrick turned to me with a grin on his face and held out his hand.
Shall we?
We practiced more and I was finally getting good. Patrick swung me out for our final spin, then pulled me in close and dipped me. That's when I noticed his face was just so close. His ice blue eyes staring deep into mine. Was he gonna kiss me? Just then, all the lights in the theater went out. Patrick dropped me in shock, and I shrieked. All of a sudden, the lights came back on, and Miss Conrad stepped back on stage.
Oh, hey kids. I'm so sorry. I didn't realize you were still here.
Ugh, I couldn't believe she'd interrupted our moment. Still, we waved goodbye to her and headed out. A little while later, when Patrick dropped me off, he got out of his car to open my door. Such a gentleman.
It was nice hanging out tonight. I'll see you tomorrow, superstar.
Then he wrapped his arms around me and gave me a big hug. Is this what heaven smelled like? Then I headed up the front walk to my door.
So do you like him or something?
I whipped around and saw Addison waiting on our front porch swing. I don't know, maybe. He's so cute and really talented.
Okay. Cool, I guess. Do you still want to practice?
That's okay, I think I got it now.
Okay then. Well, then I guess I'll see you tomorrow. Here, I got you a milkshake.
Hey, thanks. He started crossing the yard towards his house. Is it?
Cookies and cream, your favorite.
Thanks. I'll see you tomorrow?
You know it.
Then it was finally time for nationals. As we arrived at the concert hall, I was overwhelmed by all the other groups here and overheard one girl say to another, "She was a little flat at the end." I couldn't believe it. What if I lost us the whole competition? All night and throughout all our warm-ups the next day, it was all I could think about. If I messed up again, I'd be letting everyone down, including myself. And there were several famous music industry people judging the competition. What if I ended my career as a singer before it even started? And then, it was almost time to go up. I tried to calm down, but I was shaking like a leaf. Miss Conrad, Kaylee doesn't look so good. Miss Conrad came over. She looked pretty nervous herself.
Kaylee, you look terrible. Are you going to be able to perform?
Of course,
Because if you're sick, I can always put Heidi on.
I'm ready to go, Miss Conrad. Just then, I spotted Patrick warming up down the hall. I just need a minute. I raced down the hall towards him. He was stretching, shaking out his hands, jumping up and down. Patrick? His expression was so strange. Was he nervous too? I'm so nervous. Do you think we could practice?
Kaylee, I'm kind of busy.
What if we...
I really just need some space here, Kaylee.
Yesterday, you said we were a team. That doesn't feel like a team to me.
I can't do this right now. Could you leave me alone?
Fighting back tears, I ran down the hall and found a corner backstage. I couldn't let anyone see me so upset, especially not Miss Conrad or Heidi. What was I gonna do? Suddenly, Addison stepped out of the shadows. He looked so handsome in his costume.
Kaylee, are you okay?
I threw my arms around him. He caught me and squeezed tight. I'm so nervous. I overheard one of the other teams say I sounded bad. Miss Conrad is ready to replace me with Heidi. Patrick isn't any help, and there's amazing industry people out there, and... Ugh!
You sounded amazing in rehearsal. Those other teams were just jealous. Forget about Patrick and Heidi. Remember why you love to sing. What was it your grandma always said?
Sing from your heart?
Exactly. Just do that.
I took a few deep breaths, and Addison was right. Will you just run the last part of the number with me?
Of course.
And there, in our little corner of the theater, we stepped, we twirled, we kicked in time together. Addison took my hand, spun me around, and dipped me low. I felt his arm slip. He was dropping me, but right before I was sure I'd hit the ground, he caught me with a twinkle in his eye. I swatted his arm. You tricked me.
I'd never drop you, and even if I did, I'll always be here to catch you.
Thank you, Addison. Then he smiled at me so genuinely, and my heart fell into my stomach. What was that? Places, please, students, places. Kaylee, are you ready? Yes, Miss Conrad. As we all rushed to take our spots to start our number, Addison shot me a wink.
Knock 'em dead, superstar.
You too. As soon as the lights came up on stage, I felt a little thrill of excitement. We danced, we sang, we twirled. Everyone had brought their A-game. When it came time for my duet with Patrick, we totally nailed it. But any spark that had been there was gone. As the opening chords of my solo began, the lights shined down on me, and I opened my mouth, and the music poured from my heart. I knew my grandma was right there with me. I hit my final note and held it out forever as everyone finished their steps behind me. As we struck our final pose, the crowd erupted into applause, a standing ovation. I beamed. We totally nailed it! That night, after all the points had been tallied, all the teams gathered on stage behind the judges. Addison reached for my hand and I squeezed back. Thanks for the pep talk. I could have never done it without you.
Of course you could have. I'm just here to remind you.
You're always there for me. He leaned in close, and I felt a flutter in my stomach as he whispered in my ear.
And I always will be, if you let me.
I turned to look directly in his eyes.
Kaylee, I have to tell you.
Just then, the announcer started announcing the winners. Second place, runner-up. Our whole team clasped hands and took a deep breath together.
And the grand prize for this year's National Show Choir Competition goes to...
As they said our name, the crowd roared. It was so loud I could hardly think. Confetti rained down on us as Miss Conrad stepped forward to accept our trophy. I threw my arms around Addison and he picked me up, swinging me in a circle. We did it! We did it! As we packed up our things in the dressing room and said goodbye to the new friends we'd made at the competition, one of the judges knocked on our dressing room door. He was an exec for a record label back in LA.
I was so impressed with you. Your vocals were so clear, and you've got some real presence up there. Give me a call if you think you'd be interested in recording a single.
He handed me his card, and I shook his hand, totally awestruck. Maybe dreams really do come true. I felt so relieved. Not only had I not let everyone down, but I'd made myself proud. On the bus, Addison dropped down in the seat beside me, running a hand through his hair. When he saw me watching him, he grinned, and the butterflies were back.
I'm totally beat, aren't you?
Definitely. I, got you something.
Oh yeah?
I pulled out a bag of gummy worms. Your favorite.
You're the best, Kay.
He ripped open the bag and dug in. Hey, Addison, what was it you were gonna tell me earlier?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Well, I have something I want to tell you.
Yeah?
I like you.
Really?
Really.
I like you too. I have for a while now.
Really?
Really.
He took my hand, and I know my cheeks turned pink.
I got something for you too.
Ooh, okay. I love presents. And then he put his hand on my cheek, leaned in close, and kissed me. It was the perfect end to a perfect day.